today, and it is just such a pleasure. I've missed you all. And so I believe our tech helps are going to have everyone muted, which they are. And if you want to turn on live transcript or not, oh, actually, I gotta make Stacy the host. You'll have that option as it comes up, and the link for the prayer book for the Siddur is going to be in the chat, whether you're here on Zoom or on Facebook. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. You know this, but if you feel like you want to know it even better, you can turn to page 647. Ozi v'zimrat yad v'yehili Yeshua. Ozi v'zimrat yad v'yehili Yeshua.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. There's something that is so lovely about being here, but also being in our homes on a very rainy Chicago night, and getting to just bring in Shabbat together cozily and virtually from our living rooms. And I wanted to say that we have this incredibly relatable moment in this week's Torah portion, B'ha'alotecha, where Moses has had a very tough week. I don't know how many of you have had a tough week this week, but if you have, this is for you. So Moses has had a very tough week, and he's kind of had enough. He's pretty ready to quit his job. And so he goes and he talks to God and he says, look, you're making this way too hard. I've been through way too much. I'm done. Please just let this be over. And God responds, and God says, Moses, I need you to take a breath. I need you to trust me. And I need you to know that I'm going to bring in some people to help you, that you're not in this alone, and that I'm going to actually help spread out your responsibility to different elders in our tribe.
You passing by the computer?
And so for any of us who have felt like we've had a little bit of enough this week, whether it's because of the scary reports of rising anti-Semitism, tough weeks at work, weather that suddenly went from 80 degrees to 50 degrees, any possible reason, our job is to look around and say, hey, I need a little bit of help, and to see that we're not alone, and to bring in the wisdom of each other and the wisdom of the people in our community who are speaking out on our behalf, and the people in other communities who are speaking out on our behalf, and saying, we're going to spread out this burden amongst all of us because we're all in this together. So we're going to start on page 120 with our candle blessings. And we're very excited to invite up the Simon family, Charla and Daniel, Sydney, Cole, and our bat mitzvah tomorrow, Kaylee, who are going to lead us in our candle blessings.
Hi, Kaylee.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Do it.
Baruch.
Baruch.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Kaylee, becoming an adult is dangerous. You know that, right? I mean, that's how it is. Beautiful job. Thank you so much. I can't wait for tomorrow.
Amen.
Thank you.
And now for our blessing over the wine, our Kiddush on page 123, we're going to invite up Stacy Boris and Michael Blaustein, Lily, and our bar mitzvah for tomorrow, Theo, to lead us in the Kiddush.
Ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen.
Amen.
We're doing it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, Ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha v'yahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Theo, hold your cup up nice and high. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. Amen. Get some rest.
We all that's for everybody. Get some rest. We are turning to 138 for Lechado D.
Sorry, Rabbi, I expected you to say a little more, and I was going to take my sweet time getting ready. But here we are. All right. Verses, what do you think? 1, 2, 5, and 9 tonight? Lechado di likrat kala pnei Shabbat kabla. Lechado di likrat kala pnei Shabbat kabla. Shamor v'zachor v'ribor echad, Hishmiyanu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, v'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lechado di likrat kala pnei Shabbat kabla. Lechado di likrat kala pnei Shabbat kabla. Shamor v'zachor v'ribor echad, Hishmiyanu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, v'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lechado di likrat kala pnei Shabbat kabla. Lechado di likrat kala pnei Shabbat kabla. Hitoreri ki va'oreh hu mi'ori. Uri shedaberi kavod Adonai alayach nigla. Lechado di likrat kala pnei Shabbat kabla. We rise. Ohi v'shalom עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני אמסל גאולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת קבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת קבלה. We rise, baruch hu, baruch hu, et Adonai, et Adonai, Hamevora, Hamevora, Baruch Adonai, Baruch Adonai, Hamevora, Hamevora, Leolam, Leolam, Vaed, Vaed.
As we turn to Shema, we think not about just what is listening, what does it mean to listen, but what does it mean for listening to be holy? And I think that the Shema kind of argues that listening is holy when it ends in connection, when it ends in a sense of oneness and in a feeling that we've really connected beyond ourselves and seen ourselves as part of the greater world. And that's what we try to achieve when we say Shema together. Even though we're all spread out, we come to it from a place of connection. We're on page 152 for Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם נאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Emet. So before Moses had his really bad day, before that, we hear about how the priests are to, how Aaron and his sons are to lift the light in the tabernacle, in the Holy of Holies, that they are to lift the light. And this notion is, that's where we get Baha'alotacha. And Baha'alotacha, to lift that light, is also where we get the term Aliyah. to make Aliyah, to ascend. And really, when we get to this point in our service on page 158, we hear about the beginning of that making Aliyah, of the people being liberated from Egypt and going toward the promised land, going to ascent. And what I love about this moment is that we actually have in that moment what they call an Erev Rav, that there's a mixed multitude there, that there are all these people who are saying, we are going to ascend out of oppression. And the only way that we can do that is a mixed group. So that there's going to be people who have that background of being the Hebrews. There are going to be people who are others who are also like, I need to get out of oppression. And I have to say that I was reminded of this yesterday. I don't know how many of you were at that rally against anti-Semitism, where so many people stood together and said, no more oppression. We have to ascend. And the only way we get to that ascension, that kind of that kind of lifting the light, is all of us in this together. We have been, as a Jewish people, incredible allies to others who have been oppressed, and we say we need to stop that. And in our time right now, when we need people to stand with us, thank God we have friends, we have allies, we have people who stand with us and say, in this time of oppression, we all need to ascend, and the only way to get there is together. And so it's in that way that we sing these words of Nichamocha on page 158.
Nichamocha ba'elim Adonai, Nichamocha nedar b'kodesh, Norah tehilot, osei feleh, Norah tehilot, osei feleh, ba'echutecha ra'u banecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zeli anu ve'yameru Adonai imlo leolam va'ed.
And I love these moments of turning to the Hashkivenu on page 160, where we feel like we make this ascent, but also so that we can lie down in a shelter of peace and feel ourselves renewed.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim.
Cantor, I see that we are doing the Rothblum version of Vishamru. What does that sound like?
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like exactly what keeping the Sabbath should sound like table banging, excitement. And this one, you know, is when a wonderful congregant figures out where the missing liturgy is, and they come to me and say, Cantor, you haven't done Vishamru in a while. Then I say, Meg, you're right. Let's get back to it. So everybody, like this, like as if we're all around the Sabbath table together, and we get ready for, on page 162. Yes. As the Sabbath keeps me, we keep the Sabbath. Here we go. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et hashabat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Meg, you are way too cool to ever be embarrassed. I promise you.
Page 166, we rise in body or in spirit. Some of us do both for our Amidah, our tefillah. Again, page 166.
Adonai sifatai tiftahu fi agit tehillatcha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו ויהב המלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה רב להושיע מוריד הטל מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה ונאמנת על החיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
An invitation to silent prayer. The light of God is not well hidden, not so secret that we must battle the forces of nature or armies of evil to stand in its glow. It's there, behind your eyes, pulsing from the hills, rising from the sands. It's there, inside a spade of dirt, inside the caper bud and the orchid blossom and the old folks and the little ones. The light of God is not well hidden. It's far enough that you must begin the journey, yet close enough that you will surely find it. Maybe right now in this silent prayer.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל. We're about to do some serious clapping, so if you need some help, look over at the screen that says Brian's Mini. Brian's Mini is named Davy. She's going to help you clap. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel Darcy ve'imru amen. Your daughter's going to be a cantor. I'm so sorry to tell you that. Shabbat shalom.
Oh my gosh. As though, I mean, I felt like none of us thought that that could get any better, and then it did. That was beautiful.
Oh
Do you
my
know,
God.
and I'll tell you, I don't know, have you ever been to the train station in Jerusalem where they have the old train station that they've converted into this beautiful space with lots of shops and lots of ways of being able on Kabbalat Shabbat to celebrate Shabbat with Nava Tehillah, who I think is responsible for this melody. And what I love about those moments is that people are just swirling around and dancing, and some people are in their chairs and just waving their hands, and it is joyful like that. Thank you. And I feel like as we go into our prayer for healing, it's that kind of energy that I want to bring in and fill our hearts so that as we're thinking about those who are in need of healing and need of strength, need of patience with dealing with a chronic illness, needing more strength as caregivers. There are so many ways when we are singing our Misha Berach, where we are needing that kind of energy, where we're thinking about those who are in need of cessation of suffering and of the kind of healing that really brings peace. And so I know that there are people in our community whom we are holding in our hearts at this time. I invite you to unmute and share their names or write their names in the chat.
Cindy Rudek, Barbara Mercy.
We also hold in our hearts Ruth Oppler and Marge Goldberg, Ari Wolkenfeld, Erica Levinson and Marge Hilliard, Sam Jacobson and Jerry Scanzano, Susan Levine, Sarah Griffith, Madeline Lisen, Kylie Grant, and Aziani Kobia, Brian Britton and Candy Roller, Gail Rothner, Michael Giannini, and Howard Egelberg, Jonathan Spitz and Elaine Baddock and Javier Escalante, Malou Rose and Fletcher Kurtz, Tracy Lipsig Kite and Connor Keefe, Jordan Hamilton and Renaud Van Cotter, and Ronnie and Marissa Green and Hazel Golden Lee, Flo Bernberg and Ed Davis, and Malia Mo, and Afaf, and Rob Koppensteiner, and Sarah Golub, and Ahuva Shana, and Shirley Goldman Herzog. We hold them in our hearts as we sing these words that are now in the chat. They're also on page 677 of our Siddur, where these are just the simple line that Moses said, actually, in this week's Torah portion on behalf of his sister who was in need of healing. And the whole community said, we can't move without her in this community. So we hold those who are in need of healing in this very space, in the space of our hearts, in the space of this community, as we pray together for their healing.
Euna refanala, Euna refanala, Euna refanala, Refua shelema, Euna refanala, Euna refanala, Euna refanala, Refua shelema, Euna refanala, Euna refanala, Euna refanala, Refua
And Refuah Shlema also to Barb Bite. And it has become a wonderful tradition to honor our veterans at our Memorial Day weekend Shabbat. So where is our magnificent Jerry Field, who helps us to do this so well? Oh, great. Jerry, it's wonderful to see you. And we want to thank you both for your service and also for the honor that you bring to so many veterans. And as we offer this prayer, we want to recognize our Jewish war veterans, the JWV, on its 125th anniversary. And this is the oldest veterans organization in the nation. It was founded in 1896 by Civil War veterans to raise awareness of contributions made by Jewish service members. And so we know that the post 710 Temple Sholem's Jewish War Veterans Post, with Commander Jerry Field leading the way, is very engaged in our local community. And we are so grateful for all the ways that you help us to actively participate in the city, in the county, and the state on veterans issues, and to assist all of those who have served and continue to serve our country. Thank you. So I just want to go over just a couple of the highlights, and then we can say a special blessing. So I know that this past January, Post 710 was called to action to assist in offering area veterans COVID-19 vaccines on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And over the next 45 days, Post 710 helped arrange more than 3,000 vaccination shots. Post 710 set up a women's veterans hotline, which provides assistance and services to an underserved population across Northeast Illinois. And this post, JWV Post 710, continues to assist in ensuring the availability of in-home care for veterans, widows, spouses, and children at little or no cost. And so, grateful for all of that. We ask for this blessing on all of our veterans, on their families, and for our nation. Our God and God of our ancestors, we thank you for the numerous blessings you have bestowed upon our nation. Out of the many nations of the world, our country has been blessed to demonstrate how peoples of many faiths and heritages can live side by side and enrich one another's lives through friendship and the sharing of our unique traditions. We are united this day in a solemn act of gratitude to those who have served in our nation's defense, to those who have risked their personal safety to save the lives of others, and above all, to those who have died serving this country. Their sacrifices are forever remembered by us and by our children for generations to come. We do not forget. Our hearts go out to those serving today in our armed forces and to their families. Those of us who are veterans of previous wars know best of all what they must be feeling, what their spouses and children are feeling, what they pray for. In all of this, we are united. Our prayers are with those who serve our country today. We ask God that they may return speedily and in good health and safety to their loved ones. And may God grant each of us the wisdom to uphold this nation's virtues, that it may continue to serve as a beacon of liberty and harmony between peoples for all the world to see, for us to live up to this demand and this command. Amen. Again, thank you, Commander Field.
Amen, amen. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful reading, Rabbi Conover. I am sure that each of us knows someone in our lives who's very competitive. Maybe you're trying to do a little thing, but they're like, oh, I bet I could do it better. For me, that person is one of my closest friends, Justin. He's not the type of person who's trying to necessarily beat you at anything, but rather he wants to be in competition with you because it helps him to do better, to give it his all. Justin's the type of person who has bowled multiple 300s in league play. Whatever he does, he leaves it all on the field, the court, the alley, or whatever he's playing on. I, on the other hand, am not a very competitive person. So for Justin and I, our most competitive battles play out on the course, the golf course. Well, probably not the course necessarily that you're thinking. We, in fact, are very competitive in both mini golf and disc golf. Hey, we probably know what mini golf is. Disc golf is the only quote unquote sport that I'm any good at. If you're not aware, it's got, ball golf rules, but you're throwing these flatter than a Frisbee disc drivers, woods, and putters towards a basket sitting some 300 to 500 feet away. I've played disc golf for years, and then one time, Justin decided to try his hand at it. It probably took him about 3 to 4 outings before he beat me at my own game. The thing that bowling, mini golf, and disc golf all have in common, besides the quote around the word sport, is that you're primarily competing against yourself. It doesn't really matter how anyone else plays. You're just trying to do your best, just trying to do a little bit better than you did last time. You're not measuring yourself in comparison to anyone else. Rather, you're just measuring yourself against yourself, working to continually improve bit by bit. In this week's Torah portion, Baha'alotecha, there are 2 anecdotes of this, of competition, comparison, and measurement. First one is we catch up with Miriam and Aaron, who are feeling inadequate as they measure themselves up to Moses. I can't imagine how you measure up to Moses, but they attempt. As in Numbers 12:2, they say, has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't God spoken through us as well? In this way, they're trying to say, listen, we're prophets as well. God's spoken to us. Where's our ability to lead the people? Of course, they are leaders as well. And for this, God is not happy with them questioning their relationship against Moses's. They are unduly judging themselves to be, not as great as Moses because they don't have that same exact relationship to God. Judging themselves in that one area also denies their strengths. They have huge strengths in their leadership. Miriam is traditionally known to be the one who keeps the whole Israelite community alive by providing water throughout their journey through the desert. And Aaron's the high priest, responsible for all the spiritual and prayerful relationships on behalf of all the people with God. They are incredible. They are doing incredible work. But they decide at this moment to measure themselves against Moses on this one narrow area. Also in this portion is another time of comparison and measurement with others. But this one ends with more grace. We learn in this portion of the set time of Passover. That's to be on the 14th day of the first month. Then immediately in Numbers 9:6, we get a question. And it reads, "But there were some men who were unclean by reason of a corpse, and thus could not offer the Passover sacrifice on that day. Those men said to Moses and Aaron, 'Unclean are we by reason of a corpse. Why must we be debarred from presenting the Lord's offering at its set time with the rest of the Israelites?' Moses says to them, 'Stand by and let me talk to the big kahuna, and I'll tell you what God has to say.' God tells Moses that anyone who is defiled by a corpse or on a long journey during that set time of Passover can hold Passover in the second month on the 14th day. This is Pesach or Passover Sheni, the second Passover. If you were unable to be part of the first one, exactly 1 month later, you get an opportunity to come together. They will keep the second Passover just as if it were the standard time for Passover. So here, these people who cared for the deceased, they looked around with FOMO at their brethren who got to celebrate Passover while they were unclean, and while these people were unclean and outside the camp. And God sees them and doesn't respond with a shrug, stinks for you. Rather, God responds by acknowledging the situation they were in and offers another time to be part of the community in a special way. They're measured differently, but they are given options and realize that each has their own way, a response truly of grace and love. As in today's time, as vaccination rates climb and life comes back to a new normal, how do we look back on the previous year? On Rosh Hashanah, on New Year's Eve, or on birthdays, we often take a moment to look back at our year. We contemplate our accomplishments and our defeats and ask ourselves, who am I? And maybe where am I compared to this time last year? Did I accomplish what I wanted to? In this transition that we're currently in, as we move back outside from being in our homes for over a year, we're presented with a similar opportunity, but one that should be handled very differently. We might be tempted to measure our time since March 2020 in the things we've made, the things we've accomplished, and the ways we changed our lives. But Amber Ruffin, a New York Times bestseller, the first Black woman to write for a late night talk show in 2014, and former performer here in Chicago at the I.O. and Second City, Amber put it a different way on her show. She said, "Reflecting on our time is going to seem like a competition, and anyone who didn't achieve very much maybe somehow lost? No, it's not a competition. It's not a creative incubator, and this pandemic has not been a working vacation. It's a pandemic. And you're not any worse of a person for living through a pandemic and not accomplishing some big project because you did the only thing that you had to do. You lived. You got up every day and you carried the weight that your actions could put someone else in danger, and you made the responsible choice to prevent that, and you stayed home. Miriam and Aaron measured themselves against Moses when they should have been asking, how could I have been a better me? They did so with spite, and they paid the consequences for doing so. Those in our ancient Israelite story who handled the deceased who missed Passover measured themselves against those who were able to celebrate because they were not. But they measured themselves and their relationship to God to be better. We're in a unique moment calling for measurement. Let us not measure ourselves and our last year and the things we've done and we have not done. We're not going to measure ourselves that way. We're not going to measure ourselves against anyone else. Rather, we measure ourselves looking at ourselves with grace, looking back and knowing that we did exactly what we needed to do in the midst of the unbearable trauma of a worldwide crisis. I did what I did to keep people safe. I stayed home and I masked up, and I awoke another day. I kept going. I kept working to keep my community safe, and I kept living. That we woke up today is an accomplishment. You did that. You did that today. Mazel tov. Our Shehechianu prayer does not say, thank you, God, for enabling me to be productive. Rather, it says, thank you, God, for enabling us to reach this day. For that accomplishment is always something to be proud of. We should be proud. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Praise are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, for sustaining us, for helping us to reach this day, for helping us to survive a pandemic, for helping us to emerge, proud to be here, proud to be human beings who work to help others and to create a better world. We say, Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi.
We are going to, this was my first week back from family leave. I get to take some more of it a little bit later, thanks to my Temple Sholem family. And it's so exciting to take a look back at our Temple Sholem calendar and see the exciting things that I get to be a part of once again. And so I think the rest of my clergy team is going to join me up on our virtual Bima here. Let's get them up here. And yeah, hi everyone. So I'll start the first one. We are tomorrow at noon. We invite our whole Temple Sholem community to join us for a clergy-facilitated, congregation-wide conversation about Israel. We're going to share and we're going to listen to the thoughts and feelings on the most recent conflict in Israel and Gaza and the resulting global response. We're going to look forward to sharing and hearing perspectives and really setting that tone for open and honest discussion. I'm really looking forward to it tomorrow at noon.
And on Wednesdays, starting on June 2nd, people will have the opportunity to study in our Wednesday morning study group with the incredible, hilarious, brilliant Karen Titus. So if you haven't gotten the opportunity to study with her, we highly, highly recommend it.
And then that night at 7 o'clock, we have our distinguished speaker series. We are going to have Dr. Ezekiel Emmanuel, who's going to be discussing American healthcare and a prescription for change. That's going to be a very exciting evening. It's going to be via Zoom on June 2nd at 7 p.m. So you better not be late for morning study or the speaker series.
True. And it should be so good. And if you haven't registered, register now. I think we have around 300 and almost 350 people, our households who have registered. So you don't want to miss this. You just don't want to miss this. His wisdom and also his guidance for what we do next to make more equitable access to healthcare necessary. So, and then 2 days later on June 4th, we have our wonderful services where we have a 6:15 service, and then we have a 7:45 service, an Or Chadash service. And so we don't want to miss that either. And do we know who's speaking that evening?
It is actually going to be a lot of people speaking. These people are going to bring poems and readings because we are beginning the celebration of Pride Month.
Beautiful. And I will also just say then that June 18th, mark your calendar, get ready, get set, and be ready to hit go. Because on June 18th, we're going to have a beautiful Pride service. And it's going to be in the sanctuary. Some people can access it in person. Some people can access it from their homes. All of us are going to enjoy it as one community, and we can hardly wait.
It's going to be wonderful. We are going to turn now back in our prayer books to page 586 as we rise in body and spirit for Aleinu L'Shabeach.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latet grula leotze breshit shelo asanu kegoye haratzod velo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihye Adonai echad ushmo Echad.
You may be seated. As we turn in our prayer book still to page 592 with one of the most beautiful poems I think we read before Kaddish. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. On this Shabbat, I invite anyone to start adding to the chat those who we're thinking of as on this Shabbat. Our Temple Sholem community is thinking about those who have passed away in this last month known as Shloshim: Judith Getzels, Dr. Eugene L. Bronstein, Whitney Meister O'Connell, Barbara Keller Taylor, Ronald Burstein, Arnold E. Pearl. We also honor the memories of those who passed away recently, Arlene Weinstein, Luisa Jimenez, and Jerry Baskin, all those three who will be laid to rest in the coming days. And we honor the yard sites of those Linda Battleman, Evelyn Bloomfeld, Jacob Neuschatz, Bernice Cohen, Harold Kreitz, Tilly Davidson, Alan Epstein, Mark Buma-Fintel, Felix Greenthal, Murray Haberman, Leonard Henschel, Ann Hirsch, Abe Hyman, Goldie Kaplan, Harry King, M. Jack Lefkowitz, Herman Linker, Evelyn Litwin, Dennis Newton, Joseph Snow, Etta Stoll, Elizabeth M. Tackett, Joseph Wallace, Florence Warty, Annette Wilk, and Sophia Zeitlin. And if you'd like to unmute and share the names of those you're thinking of or continue to add them to the chat, I invite you to do so.
They put the yacht site for next week, for next Friday.
Sherry Camico Goodman.
Roberta Kay and Rebecca Luker.
And we add to those names Michael Cooper, Gerda Abramczyk, Jerry Baskin, Mary Ellen Sabato, Mary Ellen Sabato, Howard Vihan, Sondra Goinshore, Michael DeRosiers, Barry Levine, and all those who we hold in our hearts. As we together recite the words of Kaddish Yatom on page 598.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. V'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon uvyomachon uv'chayei dochol Beit Yisrael b'agalau v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kursha. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlam araba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Useh shalom b'imromav, yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Useh shalom b'imromav, Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen.
As we venture outside without judgment, without judging how our years have been, without measurement across others, we do so with strength and might. And so we're finishing off tonight, closing tonight on page 647 with the words of Ozi v'zimrat Yah, Adonai is my strength.
Rabbi, thank you so much. And thank you for teaching us and reminding us tonight that God's our strength, but we are each other's strength ultimately. So thank you for your really wise words. Oh, Ziv, Zimrat Yah, Vayehili Lishua. Oh, Ziv, Zimrat Yah, Vayehili Lishua. Oh, Ziv,
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Thank you, Helene. I